Recently on this podcast, we spoke to Jordan, who was joining the ADF, specifically the Australian Army, after having been in the British Army for, I can't remember now, but it was a fair bit of time. But what if you're not in the Army? Does the ADF have transfer schemes for the Royal Australian Air Force or the Navy? Well, if you're listening to this, you'll be happy to know that it does, otherwise this would be a really short episode. How different is the Royal Australian Air Force from the Royal Air Force? I mean, the names are pretty similar, so surely they're the same, right? You must just be able to transfer across pretty easily. Well, our guest today is Tom, and with his wife Katy, they moved from wonderful Oxfordshire to, I think, Richmond in New South Wales. How different is the Royal Australian Air Force to the RAAF? And what does it take to move to the other side of the world to still work on planes? I guess we're going to find out. G'day, Tom and Katy. How are you going?
Hi.
Hi, good, thank you.
How is all of this horrible weather that has moved up from Sydney? And I think we've got the last end of it. The weather forecast looks okay for the next few days. How is it down where you are?
It's horrendous.
Yeah, it's been about 3 weeks of rain, pretty much.
Yeah, and I think they said yesterday there was a month's worth of rain in 2 days, and it's literally like being in the UK. It's like, well, we feel at home, but, we didn't move for more rain. So, fingers crossed. I think next week's looking pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, it was good the first couple of weeks we were here, but it's like the last 3 weeks have been dreadful.
I don't want to make it sound too bad.
It rains, yeah. Like it's not a bit of rain, it's like torrential rain.
It always shocks me how I do these podcasts and then it normally starts with, the weather. I apologise in advance for anyone who isn't English or British and doesn't get it. Why do they keep talking about the weather? But
yeah, to be fair, the Aussies seem to talk about it quite a lot as well.
Well, most of them are a little bit like us, really. Yeah. Now, Tom and Katy, can you, for everyone listening at home or in their cars or wherever they are, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves? Can you paint us a picture of what your lives were like before you moved to Australia? What were you kind of leaving behind? What perhaps even were you looking forward to?
So we're originally from Devon, down in the good old southwest of the UK. But for the last 10 years?
11 years.
11 years. We've been living up in Oxfordshire near Brize Norton because of Tom's job in the Royal Air Force. So we've been stuck inland for quite some time.
Away from the beaches.
Away from all the beach. But, Oxfordshire's all right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's okay. It's like an inland Devon, if I'm honest.
Well, not as good as Berkshire, but,
Oh, of course, yeah, of course. But, so we've been, living up in Oxfordshire, military housing, which is an experience in itself for Tom's work. And, just sort of...
plodding along.
Yeah, plodding, I would say.
Yeah, just always thinking of the future, not really sort of enjoying the time we had.
What about the future were you mainly looking forward to?
Just always the next step, as in like moving on from the military or like getting our forever home, that kind of stuff, and just sort of settling down more, because the problem with the military, you never feel settled. But at the end of the day, we wanted to go to Australia as well. So that was another sort of future plan. So we were always thinking when we were going to be able to go there, that kind of stuff.
How long had you had the Australia plan for? Was it something that was your plan, Tom, or was it yours, Katy?
Both of us, really.
Yeah, I don't really know how it started. I think it was actually that really good show that they've stopped called Wanted Down Under. Used to be on like daytime TV. I can't find it.
Yeah, we haven't seen it in years.
If it's a thing, I don't know where it's gone, but we were big fans of that show.
We did. We watched it for years. Yeah. And that was a good sort of like show to...
Me too.
Yeah.
And I think Australia's one of those places that, well, for us anyway, we're like, you've got to go there at some point. So we thought, well, maybe we'd like to live there, so let's go on holidays. In early 2019, Feb 2019, we came over for a 3-week holiday and we went to Perth. To be honest, we went, sorry, East Coast, West Coast. We went to Perth mainly because you could go on a direct flight. That was pretty much, I think, why we picked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like an 18-hour flight, in one.
Yeah, you can go all in one go, lovely. And then we stayed in Perth for a bit. We travelled up the coast, all the way up to Exmouth. It's very hot up there. And again, we only went to Exmouth because we lived in Exmouth.
In Devon.
And we were like,
you just wanted to see if it was the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Very different. Yeah, very different.
Can confirm. So yeah, we loved it.
We did.
We felt, it was one of the, when you go on holiday and you're like, it's been nice, but I'm ready to go home. I was not ready to go home. I think at the end of it, if you'd said, don't worry, we'll send you stuff, you can stay, I would have gone, okay, no worries. And I would have stayed quite happily. And I think then we thought, I didn't feel like we were going home, especially because it was February. My God, it was cold when we got back.
Yeah.
But it just almost felt really dramatic way that we were like leaving where we should be, and going back, and we were just like, oh, the UK sucks. It was cold, it was dark, and we were just like, we need to get back there. So obviously COVID happened, and that delayed things and all of that. And then I think at one point we went, it's too difficult, let's just stay in the UK.
We just gave up, to be honest.
Okay.
Yes. And then obviously we came back around. I think one day I just looked at him and I said, I want to go to Australia. And he was like, good, because I do too. And it was just a random, I think I was getting ready for work or something really random. It was nothing particular, but he was like, yeah, I don't want to live here. And I was like, neither do I. And then that just kicked it all off again. And here we are. Yeah. So it took good 6 years to get back, but
yeah, on and off, but
but we're here.
Now, as someone who I really associated with you when you said like we were just always trying to go for that next step in our lives, I think sometimes I fell into the trap of, you get this thing and then you buy a house, and then I sometimes think that it was those pursuits of the next step that even delayed me moving to Australia. It was something that I wanted to do when I left university, but it took me 10 years to kind of finally pluck up the courage to go, do you know what, I'm actually going to do this. I'm fed up of chasing the next thing. My life doesn't necessarily feel any more fulfilled as a result of doing these things. So what was the tipping point then for you when you woke up one day and thought, do you know what, let's go? Was there anything in particular?
No, I don't think so. I think it was just we were just fed up. Both of us were sort of bored of work and just general life. We all sort of lived to our sort of holidays.
We always had to have a holiday booked. If I didn't come back from a holiday with another holiday booked, like it was like depression. I was like, you came back and you were just like, ugh, back to work. And the months go by without even realizing. We just needed, I think we went on holiday twice a year, didn't we? Minimum.
Yeah, we tried to.
Every 6 months, just to have something to look forward to. And I thought, that can't be life, that you are just working to buy holidays to get out of the place that you're from. Yeah. I just thought there's got to be more.
Yeah. Sam was always a serial holiday booker. She's my little secretary. I don't really deal with any of that. Every time I try and book a holiday, something goes wrong. For example, we went to Germany one year. I think it was around New Year's. Yeah. There was a reason why the hotel was so cheap. It was about a sex shop.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. We turned up. It is not. And I was like, I didn't Google Street View at first.
But I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well,
You're like,
it's
right.
very me. It's very me.
Yeah.
I guess some of the people are going to be more interested, particularly with you, Tom, and your profession and how you ended up getting here. So could you let everyone know kind of what is it that you do for a living and how did that mean that you were able to move to Australia?
So I worked for the RAAF in the UK. I did for 11 years and I was working on aircraft as an AV technician, so avionics. So I fixed the aircraft, but like the electrical systems, that kind of stuff. And did that from the start. You do basic training, then you do trade training, and then you work on aircraft. I worked on a few different types of aircraft, all at Brize Norton, which is Oxfordshire. Yeah, that was the route I used to get here because there's a transfer program, which means that you can, depending on your trade, if they need like your kind of trade, as in if there's a slot available and they can't fill it with an Australian, then they have this transfer program and you can apply for it. Yeah, basically you go down the route of they assess your skills, see if you're any good, a few interviews, make sure you're medically fit and just see if you're willing. We had to have like an interview with the two of us to make sure that Kate was happy with the process as well. And they basically take you through the whole thing. It takes quite a while. The whole process took about 12 months, not including the notice period I had to give.
Yeah, about 12 months.
Yeah. It's the quickest and easiest way to get to Australia pretty much. We actually had a visa agent in the sort of background that we were doing on our own backs.
190. We were going down that as well.
Yeah. Yep. So which was taking way longer. We went down the whole route of getting my skills assessed via that, doing the PTE test, all that kind of stuff. And it just took forever. And we got to the EOI stage.
So the 190 then that you were pursuing, I guess, in the background, so that was still to move over with your trade?
Yeah, basically. So I was on the
skills list then?
Yeah. So I was on the skill list, but it's just a case of waiting for to get an expression of interest accepted. And we had one in for a good 6 to 8 months before we had the visa eventually with the RAF. So in the end, we didn't even get a hear back from the EOI. So we're kind of glad we went down the transfer military route because it was just so much quicker.
The visa landscape, if you like, has changed so much from even when we applied for visas, and those whole 190s, the permanent residency visas, they were a lot quicker to grant, and it seemed like they had a lot more wider scope for what they wanted. They'd kind of take from lots of different areas. I mean, as a teacher, I guess that's always kind of one of the ones that's in demand. And what I'm hearing now from lots of people is that apart from the odd professions, perhaps maybe something to do with construction, they went through a phase where, you know, if you were a nurse, that was pretty much a guaranteed one. Unfortunately, for lots of people who have trades that are on the list, it is taking a really long time even to get to the invitation round, to be invited. You put your EOI in. I think this will make you a bit annoyed. I think from our expression of interest, we were then invited. It was less than a week that we had to wait. And I was like, what? We just put that in. I thought it was going to take longer. Yeah. I know they were rushing me to get my stuff in because they knew that around the October, November time is when the invitations usually came out. And they were like, we need to get it in before then, just in case it happens. But we didn't really have to wait a long time. And now, you know, you guys, you never really got your invite. Other people are waiting for long periods of time. And sometimes I think it's easier essentially to do what you did. And it's kind of like a sponsored visa, right? You know, you found an employer that wants to take you on. Yeah. So that seems to be the route, the much quicker route, months rather than potentially waiting over a year or even years to get a visa at the moment. So it's interesting to hear how you kind of think it's like it is a permanent residency visa that you'll get with
it is,
military, isn't it? Okay, yeah. So if for want of terms, that's more like a sponsored permanent residency visa, isn't it?
Yeah, sponsored by my work.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess that's just something for people to think about. Sometimes they want that permanent residency, but they might have to wait. Whereas, I guess, interesting for you guys. So how did you hear about that route that you could essentially transfer over if you were already doing the 190 process?
So I actually applied for it back in 2019 after we'd come back from holiday. So I'd heard about it from other people. And I had a look online, and their online site basically said, please put your expression of interest in. And I did, and pretty much straight away heard back, and they said they weren't taking people of my trade at the time. So that was the stippler. And it just sort of stopped from that. And I only just reapplied, back in, when was it, 2023 again?
Yeah, like November.
Yeah, so we'd already had the 190 process started, but I knew it was going to take a while. So I thought, I'll put the interest in again. And they said, actually, we are looking for your trade now. And then, it was just a case of putting it in. But the reason why I did it in the first place is just because I'd heard of other people doing it. Not like loads of people, but the odd person that done it in the past. And when you go onto their website, it's really obvious. It's just written there. Please apply if you want sort of to transfer. Plus, there's loads of media stuff that's come over the last 12 months. There, like articles coming out saying they're looking to fill like 5,000 slots tri-service over the Navy, the Army, and the Royal Air Force. So they are advertising it as best they can, but obviously in the UK, not everyone's heard of it.
Yeah,
but they are trying to coach.
And I guess in the UK, the British military is struggling to kind of backfill the people that are leaving as well, and they're
a little bit.
Recruit. So last thing they want to do is, by the way, the Australian.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know of quite a few now.
Yes, I know probably about 8 or 9 people that are already on process, going to different bases around the country. Oh. So it's becoming more popular, but it's just not everyone wants to come.
Now, Katie, don't feel like you're left out because I am going to ask you about your profession in a second. But before I forget, there is one question that was asked as a comment, actually, on the previous podcast where we spoke to Jordan, who transferred into the Australian Army. Did you have to do any kind of basic training prior to joining into, or was it just a smooth transition? How did that work?
So no, I didn't have to do basic training. They've had this transfer program for several years now. And previously you did have to do some kind of sort of basic training and like trade training. Now it's become a bit more streamlined. So in the Royal Air Force, for a start, I don't know what it's like for the Navy and the Army, but I'd imagine it's the same. You don't have to do your basic training like you do in the UK, which would be like 10 weeks of drill and practicing like all this kind of sort of basic stuff, ironing, bulling shoes, that kind of stuff. So you don't do any of that rubbish. And then when it comes to your
had enough of that.
Yeah, I know. So when it comes to your trade training as well, that was another thing previously. You'd have to carry out some kind of trade training, so learning how to fix aircraft. You do their version. However, they've also streamlined it, so I don't need to do that as well. There is still a load of courses I need to do, but not the basic stuff. So yeah, it's a lot quicker. You don't have to go into recruits, be treated like crap like you would do as a new recruit. And it's a lot easier than it used to be.
How long, I know you can only really comment for yourself, but how long did all those courses and transfer stuff across, how long will that take, or did it take?
So far I've done at least a couple of weeks of like online training courses. It's just sort of like click and answer questions kind of thing, presentations. And then there's going to be some other sort of transitional training courses with the aircraft type. So I've already worked on, I'm basically transferred to a squadron that works with the Hercules, so C-130. So that particular aircraft, I worked on the same aircraft in the UK, but it's a slightly different mod state. So I need to do like a transition kind of course, but that's like a couple of days or whatever. And then there's a few other bits and pieces, but it's the whole process is just a case of they work slightly different to the UK military, as in they get like it's like a license kind of thing. So it's a bit stricter to work on the aircraft. So I need to basically prove I've done enough jobs on the aircraft, and then I get this like license, and then you can work on your own, non-supervised. That can take probably 6 months maybe. Mm-hmm. So as an aircraft technician, you're looking at, probably minimum of 6 months training. Some can be a bit longer, but otherwise that's about it really.
I was going to say, it kind of sounds reasonably fair in the sense that they've taken you on because they know you have the basic, I don't say basic, but like the skills that they're looking for, and you can do the types of things. But anyone would have to have this kind of period of time where they're getting used to exactly how it works in Australia. So I guess, 6 months, even from my perspective as a teacher, I taught kids. The curriculum is similar, but not the same. So having to get used, it probably took me at least 6 months to kind of get used to things. And rather than being technically kind of thrown in the deep end in a classroom in Australia, it probably would have been nice to have a little bit of learning to do to get used to what some of the little bits of differences are. But then I guess, I'm not working on things that can fall out of the sky.
That's the problem. Yeah.
It's
very strict.
Tell me to F off,
Yeah, it's very strict in aviation, so they really want to make sure that you can do the job properly before they let loose, and then you can basically screw up if possible.
So what do you do, Katie?
At the moment, nothing.
Living the dream.
I know, housewife. We've been here 5-6 weeks.
About that,
5-6 weeks. It's felt a lot longer, a lot longer. So I'm feeling very lazy because I do like to work. But in the UK, I was a police officer.
Oh wow.
So, and I'm not now. So
quite a change, isn't it?
It's quite.
Would you like to be again?
No. if I'm honest, no. So I think I don't want to give a bad rep to the police or anything, but when we were moving, I did start looking at the process to move my job over here because there's, I think, 3 states, WA, South Australia and Queensland are all taking lateral transfers, the same sort of thing as the ADF. But by the time I was eligible to apply, he was already at being offered interviews. And I thought, well, there's no point me doing it because I'm going to put it out there. The police process is a lot harder. There's about 20 stages, it felt like, of psychometric testing and numerous interviews and online games to try and catch you out and all these fitness tests you had to do. And I thought, I'm never going to get through it by the time he's potentially offered a job. So I didn't carry on. And I was also applying to Western Australia, and I knew that there was no base. I know, sorry. And there's no bases over there that he would work at for his trade. So I was like, well, I'm not applying to Western Australia for him to get a job on the East Coast. Like, that's never going to work. So I scrapped it. Now, I did consider one of his options was a base in Queensland, Amberley, just outside of Brisbane. them. If we had gone there, which was a possibility, I was going to look at applying for a transfer into Queensland Police Service. However, when we came to New South Wales instead, because you don't get a choice, unfortunately, they don't do a lateral transfer process. So if I wanted to be an officer, I would have to join as a day one police officer from scratch. And if I'm honest, I just wasn't interested in starting again.
Yeah.
So not that I think I'm too good to start again, but it's a long process. The recruitment process is long, the training's long, and I think it involves some sort of university course. And I've been dragged through that in the UK police already, having to do bachelor's degree whilst working. So I'm over the education. I was
You're
like,
done
I'm
with
not.
education.
I've got a policing degree. I'm not going to start again and be made to do more studying.
I completely
And they
understand.
carry firearms here, and I'm not. That's just.
No, I completely understand. As someone who also had to do a degree to be a teacher and all the training and stuff, if someone said to me, you're going to have to start again, unless that was my only way, you're lucky and fortunate in the sense that the visa was granted a different route. Unless I had to, I'd be like, nah, not doing it, mate.
Like if Tom wasn't skilled in anything that Australia wanted and it was down to me, I would have 100% applied. But then it's the same as the transfer process. You go in at a higher level, you up at the pay scale. It's a shorter training course. It's not starting as a base sort of day one, never put a police uniform on, recruit. You're starting at a sort of higher level with smaller amount of training. So I absolutely would have considered that. I think it's just because of where we've ended up, because of Tom's job. I think I said, if we go there, that's the end of my career as a police officer. I'm not doing it. So that's
what
what
are
decided.
you looking to do then? Haven't
No, I
decided yet?
I want to scrap all the years of what I've done. I worked for the police for 8 years, both in civilian roles and in intelligence, things like that, and then 4 years as a police officer. So and I've now gained my degree as well. I don't want to just go and work in something completely different. I would like to try and use at least some of those skills if I could, so it doesn't feel like a complete waste. So I've been applying for government-related jobs, police, civvy jobs where I can, although where we're living, there's not much out here. That's what I'm struggling with a little bit is our location. All the jobs are about an hour and a half away without traffic and tolls as well. Yeah, I know.
Sydney tolls are pretty aggressive.
Everywhere. So I think I'm struggling with my location at the minute, but I'm applying. I'm going to call it selective with what I apply for. That might drop after 6 months and I'm still sat at home making Tom's dinner. I might have to go for something else. But at the minute, I'm trying to find something loosely related, sort of government wise, so that I can not feel like I've wasted the last 8 years of my life.
Yeah, I completely understand that too. I'm interested though with the whole idea of, so you didn't really get a choice of where you wanted to be. Now, I understand that from a military perspective because, they're going to put you where they kind of need you. But is that always going to be the case? Do you never have a say? Can you try and request things?
So it was a bit tricky. So basically the process when we started it's changed a little bit now, the transfer program. So I wasn't given much of a choice of where I wanted to go. So it was a case of I had an interview with a warrant officer who's of the same trade, technician trade. And he just, out of just one of the questions said, is there anywhere particularly you fancy going? And I said, at the time it was Amberley because the area seemed better for us. And that was it. I didn't put it in writing or anything. And it ended up being when I got my letter of offer, which is they give you your pay and all that kind of stuff. It actually said on the letter of offer 3 potential bases they could send me. And those 3 were Amberley, which is Brisbane way, here, Sydney way, and then Williamtown, which is Newcastle way, a couple of hours away from here. And we didn't know. That was, July 24? So in July 24 until probably around, March, April, we didn't actually know where we were going. So I had to go through pretty much the entire process and agree to work for the Airforce and not actually know out of those 3 where we were going to go. Wow. It was a bit of a tense time knowing where we were actually going to get posted. And then in the end, we ended up getting Sydney. At the time, we were a bit disappointed, but it's kind of worked out okay at the moment. But when it comes to moving forward, it's a case of they do sort of like 3 or 4 a year sort of worth of tours. So you stay in the same place for around 3 or 4, and then you can ask to extend longer if you want to. My contract is actually 6 years, so I have to work for them for 6 years. That's a Royal Air Force thing. So actually, the Navy and the Army only have to give 3, as far as I'm aware. We have to give longer. I don't know why. Maybe because our training is more expensive. I don't know. But yeah, so we have to. We'll more than likely be in the same area, I think, for the 6 years, to my understanding, because the squadron I'm at is actually supposed to be a less desirable place from what I've been. But yeah, what I've been told, I think it's because
all the bits, haven't they?
yeah, I got the crap place. Yeah, at the moment it's been fine, but I think it's down to location. People don't like it so much because where the base is, it's a place called Richmond, which is it's kind of west and then north a bit. So it's in an area which is way out of the city. You're looking at sort of like over an hour to get into actual Sydney, and probably about an hour and a half we take where we are to get to the beach. So it's less desirable.
Well, Amberley isn't much better.
No, I know, but it's apparently a less desirable place to work. So yeah, so if you want to stay, then you can. I think we probably will do the 6 years, and then after that we'll reevaluate if I want to stay in the Royal Air Force or potentially go do something civvy, potentially fix aircraft for a civilian company like Qantas or something like that. And then we've got more option to go. But that's probably our plan. See what happens. But we think we'll be in the same area for 6 years, we reckon.
Had you visited Sydney before? I mean, I know you'd been to Perth. Okay, so how did you feel then when you finally got to Sydney? If all your previous expectation was based upon seeing the West Coast?
Yeah. Well, I think Sydney's one of those cities that is world famous, isn't it? You've got your fireworks at New Year, you've got the Opera House, the bridge. It's almost, I think people think, certainly in the UK, if you go, I went to Australia, like, oh, did you go to Sydney? You're like, no. Because I think people think, well, you go to Sydney if you go to Australia. And I don't know if it's just because of the iconic Opera House, people just think that's where you go.
Well, there's
it's probably
an argument going on at the moment because Brisbane's getting the 2032 Olympics. And they're already saying that in some of the advertising, they're going to put images of things like the Opera House. And it's like, but mate, that's Australia.
People are going to get there and be like, where is it?
Exactly. People are going to be really confused. You know,
right.
The bridge doesn't look the same as that one. Like, it's still a really old bridge, but it's not the harbour bridge. Yeah. So yeah, no, I can completely understand that. I think people, they have this idea of Australia. I think even you having that Western Coast experience of Australia, there's so much here, and it's quite vastly different. That you know, every city kind of does look the same. It feels the same, but it's not quite the same.
Yeah. But it's to be fair, I think we arrived on Saturday morning, and on the Sunday we were staying in temporary accommodation by the airport in Sydney. So we were like, well, let's go into Sydney, let's go and see it. And we got on the train or the metro. Still don't know the difference. We got on the metro and went into...
Our metro's a bus, so...
The transport here is pretty good, to be fair. We got on a train of sorts anyway, double-decker. We were like, this is lovely. It's all clean. Yeah. People are well-behaved. We were like, this is great. Anyway, we arrived into the centre of Sydney, I assume. Anyway, walked through some parks and stuff. We came around the corner and the Opera House was just there. And I was like, oh my God, we're here. And that was sort of, we were like, we're in Australia. And it almost didn't look real. Like, you've seen it time and time again, especially, you know, the New Year fireworks and just pictures that you've seen growing up, and of Australia, of course, because, you know, it's the Opera House. But it just was there, and I was like, wow. I was a bit like, we had to sit down, just had a little look for a minute and have some pictures. Yeah, we were like, oh my God, we're actually here. It's a beautiful winter's day because it wasn't raining then. And yeah, we were just, I think it hit then that we live here now. And yeah, it was, Sydney is, I mean, we're not city people.
No.
It's a lot, from what we've seen, it's a really nice city. So
is that the moment then that kind of made you, I mean, you're very new to the country, but it still doesn't mean that you can't feel like this is home for you yet? Have you had that feeling? Was doing that day trippy thing, was that the start of it?
Maybe. It's difficult, isn't it? Because to feel like home for me, you have to have your house set up how you like it, that kind of stuff. And at the moment, we're still waiting for our permanent furniture to come overseas. So the ADF actually pay to move your stuff over. And you don't have to bring everything, and we haven't. We got rid of a lot of stuff that we didn't need, but we've still got furniture coming. And at the moment, the house feels more like a temporary kind of living accommodation. So to me, it doesn't quite feel like home yet. But I think once we've got everything set up, I think it'll be a a lot nicer to live in. And
I think that day felt like a holiday.
yeah,
And I think the build up to moving here, everyone was like, "Oh, are you scared yet?" And I said, "No, because in my mind, we're going on holiday." Like, I think that's the mindset we had. We were really excited. We were looking at things to do and go and see. And yeah, we had packed up our entire house and done loads of, way too much Facebook Marketplace for my liking and all of that stuff. And I left my job. I think I left a month before. And you hadn't been working for a while. So obviously that's not normal, but it still felt like we were coming on holiday. So I think when we landed here, it almost felt like we were going to have a good holiday and go home. And I don't know I feel reasonably settled. It will be nice when we've got our stuff, but I don't have to use Google Maps to go everywhere now. So, I can find IKEA without Google Maps. So I don't know if it feels like home.
No, maybe not. And for me, when I started work, that obviously makes a difference as well. I didn't have that many days. I only had 5 days until I started work, something like that. So I went straight into the job. And I suppose that makes you feel a bit more grounded when you've actually got to go into work. Then it feels more like real life than just going on holiday, I guess. But whereas for you, obviously you haven't started a job yet. So it's a bit different probably for you.
Yeah.
Because it does feel like more of a temporary thing. But yeah, it'll get there.
Yeah.
Now,
cleaning, shopping, spending all our money.
Now, if you're watching or listening to this podcast and you're thinking to yourself, hey, I really want to move to Australia as well, and I don't want to wait ages for a permanent residency visa, I'm just impatient and I want to see how quickly can I move here, then you're going to want to speak to the sponsor of this podcast, True Blue Migration Services. Speak to them today on their website at www.truebluemigration.com. And when you mention that Johnston Life, you'll be able to fill out their free visa assessment and find out if your trade is in demand and what you could do to move to this beautiful country, particularly if you're already here and you're thinking to yourself, what do I have to do to stay here? Maybe you've got an employer that already wants to sponsor you and you're too busy to navigate the ever-changing mess of the Australian visa immigration system. And if the cost of living in Australia is still getting the better of you, well, because you mentioned that Johnston Life, you'll also go on to save an additional $200 off the cost of your visa. So why not contact them today and see what they can offer? Now, one thing I guess that a lot of people can struggle with and can find it difficult, particularly this whole idea of feeling settled, feeling like home. What was your social circle, your support network like in the UK, and how have you been faring in trying to recreate something like that here?
Yeah, so family-wise, obviously all our family are in Devon and Cornwall. Our parents live in the same street. So our family are all quite close together. But because we lived up in Oxfordshire, even though we were only 2.5 hours away, we probably only went back to Devon 2-3 times a year. So it's not like, and that was to do with our overlapping shifts and stuff, obviously both working shifts. We would often not see each other at all. So I think we found it probably easier family-wise than people that live around the corner from their mum and dad and see their siblings all the time and all of that. I think we had been away for 10, 11 years. So that helped. The friends thing is difficult. Obviously, it's not the same sending WhatsApps and obviously time difference as well. You're messaging them and they're off to bed and you've just got up and then you've had your day and they're just getting up again. So there's that weird time difference thing. And it is, we were used to sort of moving around a bit and having to make new friends and find new jobs. So it
wasn't a big shock, was it?
It's not a massive shock. It would be nice to have, I think, some people, but I've joined some, I hate it and it's a bit cringe, but I've joined some Facebook groups.
You would never have done that in the UK, would you?
Hell no, absolutely not. But usually I'm used to meeting my friends through work. I think all my good friends that I had in Oxfordshire were all through work, because you've obviously got similar interests and usually the same days off and things like that.
I was going to say shift patterns would factor into that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So I think because I've not started work yet, I've got no work friends. So I have joined a few, like I said, some Facebook groups, which makes me like a bit, but you kind of have to put yourself out there a little bit.
No, you have to.
And I've been chatting with some nice girls over like Instagram and Facebook and stuff, and we've got some meetups arranged soon. And never in my life back in the UK would I toddle off to some random coffee with a group of girls I don't know. I absolutely wouldn't. But
it's more acceptable here though, isn't it?
I think there's a lot of people, from what you realise from joining these groups, there's a lot of people, even people, bless them, that they've been here 2 years and they're like, I still don't have any friends. And I'm like, that's really sad. I know. You do wonder why, actually, a little
Yeah.
bit.
Are they those kind of people that?
Do I want to be their friend? I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe they're not like.
Yeah, sometimes.
I think there are people that struggle. So I think you've just got to put yourself out there, and you're probably not going to find your people straight away. You're probably going to find some strange people you just think, oh, no, you're just not for me, and they may think the same about me. But you've got to go meet them to find them. Because I'm, as much as he's lovely, he can't be my only friend. It would be a sad life. So
yeah. I mean, sometimes I say to Sam, I'm like, mate, you just go out, especially with girls. Like, we often think that, not just our girls particularly, but like kids, I mean. So we often think that they're good in a way that sometimes you meet friends of like their friends' parents and stuff like that. That's a good into meeting people again, in similar times of your life, so you have those kind of similarities. But sometimes they can be a bit of a burden as well, in the sense that you have to look after them, so you can't just drop things and go and socialize. You've got other responsibilities there. So it's nice that, while you have the time and the freedom to be able to do it, definitely put yourself out there. It's interesting to hear that's how you feel like you've changed as a person, because you're a little bit more social media outgoing. Do you think that the move has changed either of you at all?
Don't know. Maybe not me.
For me, that actually reaching out and being like, please be my friend is gross. It's horrible. But
don't send that on the message.
No.
People are like, oh gosh, she's weird. But I think in that, I wouldn't, like I said, I would never, because I've always worked. You have work friends, or you have your old school friends, or you just having to come here and go, oh God, I don't know anyone, is actually, when Tom went off to work after, like, it was only a few days, and I sat here at home and I was like, I was very aware that I knew nobody. All of a sudden I was like, oh damn, I literally know no one. Like, nobody at all. And I found myself like having really nice chats with like the guy selling the internet, because he was British too, on the phone. We chatted for like 45 minutes. I thought, guys, normally I'd be like, I don't speak to people on the phone. Absolutely not. I would do everything on the internet. But he called and I was like, yeah, I'll chat with you. Because I thought, God, I must be lonely because I've got no one else to talk to other than him. Sorry, Tom. So I was apparently open to having a chat with a guy selling the internet, because I thought, God, that's what it's come to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
it's interesting how you also say that you gravitated to another Pom as well.
Yeah. He was. I was like, God, that's a British accent. And then we had a chat. I think he was from Bournemouth originally. And we just had a nice chat whilst he sold me internet over the phone. Yeah. Usually I'd be like, no, I'm not interested, thank you. And that's even if I picked up my phone in the first place. So maybe I have changed. Maybe I'm friendlier to strangers.
Maybe you're a better person.
Maybe I am.
Well, at least you bought the internet off him as well. He didn't feel like he had to waste 45 minutes talking to this sad, lonely lady. He gets off the phone and he goes, oh, her husband really needs to sort her out,
She is bored.
Yeah, he'll get better.
Hopefully. Maybe let's just hope that one of these coffees with the other ladies, as long as we haven't started the conversation with "please be my friend," then that'll be okay. Now, I'm really interested with this question, because we get a lot of people coming on the podcast that have lived in Australia for different periods of time. We don't often get people who are more fresh off the boat like you guys. And I feel really out of touch now with financial realities of living in the UK. I mean, I found that when we lived there, it wasn't necessarily expensive, but the cost of living for us, I never really had enough money to save. And that's a good indicator for me that, well, the cost of living can't have necessarily been that cheap in comparison to your wages if you never really had much money to save. I basically blew it all on moving to Australia in the first place by paying for all the bits and bobs that you need to pay for. How are you finding the financial realities of living in Australia, having been only here for a few months, weeks?
Not too bad.
I would say, considering I'm leeching off him and not working, I think it's all right. I mean, Tom instantly got paid how much more for the same job?
Like 25-30% more than what I was getting paid to do the same job basically in the UK.
Yeah.
From what you've seen, the average wage for sort of jobs you're looking at are definitely more.
We all know police officers are severely underpaid in the UK for what they do. But the fact that I can get an admin job, which I say I can, I haven't yet, But there are admin jobs out there, nice and safe in your air-conditioned office for the same money that I was earning. Makes me think, obviously, I was massively underpaid. They pay a lot fairer here. And cost of food,
Cost of food's a bit more here.
it's slightly more on some things, but I would say maybe 5-10% more for an overall shop.
Possibly. But then you have to remember food's not really the biggest cost sort of every month, is it? So even like a small increase isn't going to make that much difference.
No.
But when you got other things like fuel is like nearly half the price here
Yeah.
than it is in the UK, for example. There's some things that are more expensive. We've noticed car insurance is more expensive
Ooh.
here.
It's like being 18 again.
Yeah, it's a lot more expensive because you've got your CTP. I don't know what it's like in other states, but in New South Wales, you have CTP, which is like your compulsory insurance, which covers you for nothing, but you still have to pay for it. And that's like $500. Plus, then you do your, on top, your fully comp insurance like you would in the UK. But even that was more expensive than what it was in the UK. So there are some things that are more expensive, but not everything.
No.
Some things are cheaper and it works out better.
What prices have surprised you then? Are there any prices that have? Either being very expensive, I mean, you mentioned car insurance, or weirdly cheap.
Do you know what was a really big thing? And it made us a bit flashy, I'm not going to lie. So the price of cars, we looked at the second-hand car market, because we both had second-hand cars obviously at home, and we would never ever buy a new car in the UK. However, we went flashy and we both ordered brand new cars before getting here.
Yeah, I sorted it out via email basically. So we did everything via email, and we had cars ready and waiting for
the reason why is because, so we've got Volkswagens. I've got a T-Roc and he's got a very flashy Golf R that he's, I think, dreamed about for about 20 years. So he can have it. They are half the price that they are in the UK.
Yeah, it's because of the way they come optioned and stuff. So if you add the options on in the UK, it basically goes to crazy money, whereas they come with all the options here.
Yeah.
So if you look at the comparable prices, it's so much cheaper here. So there's things like that when you look into it, actually is shockingly cheap compared to what it is in the UK.
Like my car in the UK would have been
£53,000
which is disgusting. But I paid £26,000 equivalent.
So
for a top spec T-Roc R line, or like everything you could add onto it, which was actually only two things because they come fully done, but sunroof and an additional package on the car.
Yeah, it's things like you don't even think about, but if you actually look online, it's a big jump.
So that's why we went flashy, because also the second-hand ones, it must be a supply and demand thing, were more than the new ones. So
it's crazy.
Not a lot more, but a few, like for a car that's a couple years old, they were coming out more than just getting a brand new one. You know where it's been. No one's done anything dodgy to it. Or anything. So
extra
we went
warranty as well.
We got new cars. So that was a nice
surprise.
Nice surprise.
And we were quite lucky that we managed to save quite a bit of money before we came here. So I know some people come over with very little, but we'd saved quite hard over the 11 years that we were living in cheaper properties. So obviously in the UK, you get subsidised living. So the housing we were living in was a lot cheaper rent than it would be if you were to rent in the areas. So we use that as ability to save a lot of money so that we could come over with a decent sort of level of cash. And it's quite lucky that the ADF actually pay for all your costs as well. So some of it you have to pay at the time and they pay you back. And then other stuff like booking flights and stuff, they pay for your flights over, that kind of stuff, and pay for your shipping costs of these things. So we saved obviously all the money that people would normally spend, and it can cost like £20,000 probably, similar for people to come over.
We've just got
we saved that as well, which helped.
This week we just had the refund for our visas, our medicals, and our police checks. So we got all of that back this week. So the only thing we have physically paid for to get here ourselves, which was a huge bonus going Tom's route as well with the ADF, the only thing we paid for is our cat.
Tell us, how much was your cat?
Too much.
He costs probably all in all with all the vet checks and the additional ID checks, because they brought in additional ID checks to shorten the quarantine to 10 days from 30. So we did that for him. But all of that, and we had an agent to do all the paperwork, pick him up. And
it's cat agents. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for pet transfer.
Like visa agents for cats.
Yeah. So to do all of that and to pick him up from quarantine and then ship him on again to Sydney, it was probably £5,000.
Okay, it's not too bad. Not too bad.
For a cat that cost us a £50 adoption fee.
Yeah.
But what can you do?
When you put them like that?
Yeah. People are like, do you know how many cats you could get?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, yeah, but he's our cat.
But then we've also heard of people taking over like 2 or 3 dogs as well. So
Yeah.
you can basically triple that. So yeah,
So that's
could have been worse.
the only thing they don't obviously pay for your pets, which is understandable. So that £5,000, the only thing
that we paid out,
we actually
pretty
had
much
to cover. So really, it's a bargain.
Absolutely. I'm definitely jealous that you're getting back all of the costs. I never got any costs back. We had to pay for everything. We even got stung because I'm belligerent and I wanted to move over during COVID and get here as quickly as possible. And we had to also pay for our hotel quarantine, which I'm waiting for news of some kind of class action lawsuit against it. You know, if it ever goes through it, I'll be like, oh, can I claim it back? I've still got I call them receipts. I was going to get them framed. They were like a certificate, like a really shit certificate that's like, you've done your hotel quarantine. And I'm like, thanks, mate.
right.
Was it a lot of money?
I want to say it was about $3,000, but that's Australian dollars. Which also, when I think about it, because we got put up for 2 weeks in a hotel, we got our food, we would have had to have paid for it anyway, and we got all of our admin bits done. I was applying for jobs, trying to find places to live, although we can't yet go and see them. So realistically, we'd have had to have paid for 2 weeks worth of accommodation somewhere anyway. So it's probably not that much different. And we were lucky because I say lucky, how lucky is this? We still got to go outside for 15 minutes a day.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. One day we got longer. We got like 2 hours.
Wow.
And so 15 minutes went by and the police officers would come round and say, oh, room whatever, and so you have to go back in. And we didn't clock on because we never really used to time it, burn some energy off. And they all the people that we'd kind of seen and talked to and had all the little chats with, they'd all just kind of been called back in. And Sam's looking at me like, have they forgotten us? And I'm like, it's been an hour or so this time. I'm like, I think they might have. And she went, should we ask to go back in? I'm like, are you mental? Like, we only get 15 minutes. I'm not going to ask to be put back in our cell. Like, let's just see how long it goes for. And eventually, someone must have, because they kind of, they're watching. There's nowhere to go. Like, they were just kind of watching you. We were on the 4th floor. Like, you're not going to jump off the side. And someone must have gone, they've been out here for a long time. What room are they? But yeah, that was the the highlight of our stay because we got left outside.
Strange
That's how boring it was. Yep.
Really strange times.
Yeah.
An experience.
Crazy. Yeah, I mean, people. I think people ask me, "Oh, would you do it again to get here?" And I kind of think, well, if I had to do it again, I probably would, but I definitely wouldn't choose to because of the way the borders were kind of shut and things like that. It would have been still a long wait to still get into the country otherwise.
Yeah.
Looking back, do you have any regrets about your process of getting here or your experiences so far?
To me, I regret going down the 190 route, but only because it was obviously extra money we paid out. We had a visa agent at the time, so we paid a bit of extra money to do skills assessment, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I ended up doing the PTE English test, which was awful. Hated that. And so it was a bit of a waste of our time because we started that before the transfer program. Mm-hmm. So I wish that we hadn't done that and we'd started the transfer program sooner. But at the end of the day, I had no idea if I was going to get accepted. It's inevitable. We had to do something if we wanted to get here. But other than that, no, not really much for me when it comes to regrets.
I think I think I wish we'd started earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know if we would have got here earlier, but I think after we got back and then we went to after we got back off holiday, I think a couple of months later we went to like a sort of Australian roadshowy kind of thing where there's visa agents, all sorts of different people there you can chat to. And we sort of started looking into it and then I don't know if we got cold feet or
a little bit.
We were like, is it it's too difficult. We were just like, it's too hard. Let's just stay here.
To be fair, if we'd carried on, then we probably would have been here a lot sooner, to be fair.
We probably would have, but it would have been like yourself, probably COVID time.
It would have been, during COVID time.
So who even knows if it would have worked out. But I think I kind of wish we came over a bit younger, but there's nothing you can do now. At least we're here now.
It's also a catch-22 sometimes with the young. How young do you want to be? Because particularly for, having trades and having someone interested in your profession and what you can do. I mean, I know from the points perspective, if you want to go down that route, you kind of need to be older because you need to have the experience to get the points.
Yeah.
You know,
It's that weird balance of being old enough to have the experience for the extra points, but not too old that you're losing points.
Yeah, bit of a minefield.
It's a weird, there's obviously like, I think like a prime age. I think it's something like 31 where you've done enough work, but you're not old, where you've got like the peak points. Because I think I actually deducted points, I think, for you bringing me along.
Yeah.
But I think we had 80 points.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Because he got 10 if he was single, but 5 if he wasn't. So I was like, oh, I lose you 5 points. I know.
They wanted you
weird.
to marry an Australian, Tom.
Pretty much,
Yeah, sorry. So, I actually, was negative against the points, but you still had a decent amount of points. But I think we are part of we're still part of a Facebook group for our visa agent, and his trade, like I searched it in the group, I found one person
Just never came up, did it?
that had that trade, and they came over on a 491 they had to go for in the end, rather than so the route to permanent, not permanent. And it was just such a sort of niche trade.
It was, yeah. It was always basically the same people, wasn't it? So electricians, builders,
Teachers, nurses.
Yeah, it was the same ones.
Yeah.
So when it came to aircraft technicians, it was just non-existent.
Yeah.
So that's probably a bad sign, really, that we were never going to get an expression of interest.
Yeah, we may never have got one.
But it's one of those ones as well that when you're here or you're actively trying to find jobs in that niche, it's not like people aren't recruiting or they're full.
No.
It's just, the government or immigration that decides who are we going to invite to come here. I don't know. Maybe there's like a bit of a disconnect in what actually is really needed. Sometimes, how do you want to find out whether your job is really in demand? Have a look on things like Seek or Indeed and just see how many job applications are available.
Yeah, because Qantas were recruiting for his trade in pretty much all of the airports, but you couldn't apply to them without a visa. I think they're now actually, Qantas are now doing some sort of transfer program themselves that I was sort of looking at one point. But it's weird. They needed them, but you couldn't apply direct. You had to have gained that visa. So I think people think, I want to go to Australia, so I'm going to go. But actually,
it's not that easy.
It's not as easy as people think, unfortunately. You've got to be welcomed in. It's not the UK where you can all just arrive and they go, all right, come on then. You have to be welcomed in and you have to be useful. And I fully agree with that. You should be a benefit to the country. But it's a lot harder, I think, than people realise.
Are there any things that you miss from the UK?
Apart from friends and family, obviously.
That's the
It's just,
boring.
boring.
After a while, you don't miss them so much.
No, get used to that.
I don't know, certain foods and things like that, maybe.
Come on. What food do you miss?
Well,
Even though it's only been 6 weeks.
What do I miss?
Kate's going to probably get some hate online, but she really doesn't like Vegemite. She's not converted.
Sam doesn't like it either. She's
No.
a Marmite.
I went to the British aisle in the supermarket, or the little British section, with the Bisto and all of that stuff. And I got Marmite, although it's called
Our mate.
Yeah.
Because you can't, there's a New Zealand Marmite. I did some research. I was like, what's going on
I think
here?
it's like Hungry Jack's, like they haven't got the license.
Yeah. So I did. I paid for the Marmite because what is Vegemite? It's just and
Similar, but it's different. Like I get it.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know.
Very different.
And you, I think,
At least you didn't say Greg's.
Not
no,
bothered.
no.
We're not northern, so we're not that
No,
bothered about
they're-
Grace.
Careful. I think the food, the quality of food and the choice of food you can get to
Is
eat
better.
out as well is better, and I think it's a lot more reasonably priced. So currently, food-wise, because we love a good bit of food, don't we?
Yeah.
I would say it's better here. So other than Marmite, which I've got now, I'm fine. Yeah, there's nothing really.
Nothing major.
No.
You get used to it.
Is there anything that would make you consider moving back? I mean, obviously the fact that you can still kind of get Marmite is a saving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine.
No, I don't think so. Even if I could get a job back in the UK for a lot more money, I still wouldn't take it. There's just no reason to go back. And I know we've had rubbish weather for the last few weeks, which is one of the major reasons that people come over to Australia, isn't it, for nicer weather? But it is winter here, so you have to kind of expect it a little bit. And no, I definitely wouldn't go back.
No, I wouldn't.
No.
I think this might wear off in time, I don't know.
Yeah, true.
But already, when we were at home, for the days we did have off together, we were like, oh, what should we do? And we were like, oh, I don't know. And we would go on like the same walk
Yeah.
And we would go to the same breakfast place, and we would go for a picnic at Blenheim Palace because we were members, and it was always the same thing. Probably, maybe we were just boring. There's probably a lot more we could have gone and done, but we were just like, oh, it's all so far. Whereas here, we'll get in the car
And just do something different
and
every
go
weekend.
over and out to the Blue Mountains, because we make the effort now to go out and do stuff. Whereas I think a lot of our rest days at home, we would just sort of sit at home
Yeah.
and not make the most of it. But I feel we're actually getting out and doing stuff and seeing stuff now and actually making the most of our time. And I think if we went back to the UK, we would probably go back into that rut of just
Doing the same thing again and again.
just sort of existing and plodding along rather than actually going and making the most of our lives.
Exploring.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's another way that you kind of have changed as people, that you never really kind of realised. I think we felt the same. I think perhaps sometimes we're falling back into the little bit of the rut, unfortunately, for people that are wondering, that are new like yourselves. But I would also put that down to the fact of, we've had another child since, and the second one is definitely the reason why we probably don't need any more. So until she gets a little bit older and, being able to do those types of things again feels a bit easier. Like she's potty training at the moment, so we always feel like we kind of need to be near a toilet, otherwise there's accidents. It just doesn't look very cool as well when you're carrying a plastic potty around everywhere. So yeah, you do get a little bit rutty again, but I definitely I agree with that, in the sense of, I also feel like sometimes, talking about the financial realities again, that there's a little bit more disposable income to do things.
Yeah.
Not that we end up having to pay for everything that we do out, but it's nice not having that kind of financial worry, in the sense of, oh, don't want to go there because it's a bit expensive. It's, let's just go if there's a little bit of a fee, or if we want to have some food out rather than having to pack crappy sandwiches, just to save a few quid. Yeah, you feel a bit better.
Yeah, we've not.
There's a lot of free stuff you can do here
There
as well.
is, yeah.
So things like a lot of parks, you have to pay for parking sometimes, and beaches, obviously, you got all those are free. Blue Mountains is free to obviously get in. There's a lot of stuff you can do in Australia. We find that you don't have to pay any money at all, which is good.
Whereas the UK, would every opportunity they got, they would charge you.
Yeah.
Just for going anywhere, it seems. So
don't get me wrong, there's still some parts of Australia that I think still do charge you for the sake of it, but it's a lot less. Yeah. I was shocked when I went to Byron Bay, around where we live. Very rarely do you have to pay for any kind of parking.
No.
Or if you do, it's normally because you've been there already for about 4 hours anyway, so it's rare. It wasn't a lot. It was, a few bucks per hour, but I was like, have we even got any coins? Like, how do I feed the machine? It felt a little bit odd.
It's the sort of, from what we've seen so far, it's the touristy places, isn't it?
Yeah, they charge for bits and pieces.
We went the other day we went up to the Blue Mountains, and we did go for a walk, and that we parked up somewhere random, and that was all free in this like sort of parking area with all the trails from it. But before we got there, we went to see the Three Sisters, which for people that don't know is some rocks. Very beautiful. Some lovely rocks. But it's quite well known. Like, I had found it on Instagram and I was like, oh, we must go to the Three Sisters, like I knew what it was. But it's beautiful up there and there's lovely views and everything, but because that's quite touristy, there's no parking there. It's all on street parking, and I think, was it $12 an hour?
Oh yeah, because it was every 15 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like $3 every 15 minutes or something.
Like, just from like, they're residential streets that people live on, but they were all parking metered because obviously they know people are going to stop there because there was no parking with it. So we very quickly looked at the Three Sisters, right? And we went because it was extortionate. I don't mind paying, but that you wouldn't want to stay all day, because I think it said maximum charge something like $69, and I was like, no, I know.
What an odd
I was like,
number.
absolutely not, crazy. So that was a bit of a shocker, but.
Yeah, otherwise it's all been pretty decent.
Yeah, it's all been pretty good. Low
then,
fees.
apart from your insider knowledge about the odd number that it costs to park to go and look at the Three Sisters, do you have any other like insider tips, or what was something that you wish you had known before making the move here?
For me, it would be planning. Make sure you plan everything, because there's so much to do, and then making sure you've got the finances to do it as well. We were quite lucky in our situation because a lot of things were paid, but for most people coming over, you see it online and people just aren't prepared. with the costs and all the things you have to organise and just everything you have to do when you get here as well, sorting out your accommodation and all that kind of stuff. So to me, that's the biggest thing. We were quite lucky that a lot of the stuff got sorted for us. Yeah, I'd say most people make that mistake and don't plan ahead properly.
Yeah. I think you think you're busy before you get here with all the things you got to do, let everyone know you've moved and everything like that. But when you get here, my God, the admin is getting a driving license, your Medicare, your tax file number, but you can't do one without the other. So you've got to make sure you've done them in the right order, and your bank account and all of that sort of stuff. We just drove around going from one to the other, didn't we?
Yeah, it's stressful.
And they were like, "Oh, you can't do that because you need that." I'm like, "Well, we don't have that yet." Oh, sorry. And it was
the facility to do things online, I feel, is less.
I don't think we've ever been out to do stuff so much. Like at home, you would do everything online. Like your driving license, I renewed mine online. I know it's renewal, but I think you can apply for a brand new one online, but you have to physically go and see a person and sit down and have your photo taken by that person, and you don't even get to see it. It's tough. If it was awful, they're putting it on your license for the next however many years you've chosen, and you've got to pay for a license. It's free in the UK.
I feel like they do that though because there's more jobs for them, because from what we've noticed,
making them jobs.
Yeah, like the service centres and stuff, there just seems they're huge offices and they just have like hundreds of people in there. To me, it feels like they're creating jobs so they can actually have people paid for the work and stuff. To me, that's how it seems like, rather than having everything online and an algorithm doing everything. It just seems like they're creating more of their economy, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, well, after they've fleeced all the tourists on the parking fees, they can now just recirculate the money in the system. What does the future hold for Tom and Katy?
So I think obviously I think we said earlier, the issue with military is that you're told where to live, and we've gone and done it again.
We have, yeah.
And it's fine because we're in Australia, but Tom's locked in now for 6 years. So we know for the minimum 6 years we're probably going to be living here. However, I think if we had come on a 190 or a 491 or some other visa that's not tied to a job, if I'm honest, we never would have looked at probably New South Wales, definitely not near Sydney, because
too expensive, really.
It's very, very expensive to live around here.
It's one of the reasons why we didn't live there.
Yeah, even this far out of the city where we are now, it's still pretty pricey. So I think we've looked, because I did think we had a chat, and I mean, talk about getting ahead of yourself, talking 6 years in the future, but we were having a chat about, would it be easier just to stay here after the 6 years? Will we be settled? Will we have good friends? Will we want to just up and leave and go and start again? Because Australia is like the size of Europe, isn't it? So it's not like
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Then, and I go because Jordan, who was on one of the previous ones in the ADF, he was talking about the opportunity, because he's now transferred, to kind of chase those promotions because you don't get timed out as much. Is that something that is open to something you'd want to do, Tom? Or is it more of a case of, I'm happy to do my service in return for living here, but then you need to pick what's right for you?
Yeah. I mean, things might change. I've never sort of been the one for chasing higher promotions. I'm a corporal at the moment, and I've come over as a corporal. So I kept the rank I had already in the UK. It's basically like a supervisory type thing. I'm quite happy with the job role as it is. It would then go to sergeant, which is more of a sort of management of bigger teams, that kind of stuff. It would be nice, but at the same time, I'm not chasing it. And it's a case of, if you get promotion, it tends to mean you have to move. So that's not always the best way if you want to stay in the same area. And to me, I probably won't go down that route, but it's like never say never. If I really love the job in, say, 3-4 years' time, where potentially I could get promoted, then I might look into it. But the issue is, you're always told where you have to live. And quite often it's areas that aren't the most desirable, if like someone like a tourist that was coming over, that kind of stuff. So it's not really always by the beach. It's not always like nearest to the city, because it's obviously an airfield. It's a military airbase, that kind of stuff. So it tends to be out in the sticks. So it's unlikely that I'll probably want to stay past the 6 years, but it's one of those things. Never say never. It's a good job. They look after you. And there's sort of decent benefits, and the pay's quite good, all that kind of stuff, good travel, that kind of stuff. But yeah, for as a couple, if you're single, it's probably a great life to just stay in. But as a couple, you have to sort of think about your partner and what they want to do. And I don't think you'd be too happy about sort of staying in past the 6, just because we want to live near the beach.
Yeah. We did, before we moved to Australia, I think you did 11 years in, and I said, when you've done 12, I want you to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Because I was like, I want to pick where we live. I want to go and buy my own home and be able to paint a wall without having to put it back to Magnolia in a few years because we've moved out again, because they like it. You can do stuff to your military house in the UK, but you have to put it back. And you just having that freedom to choose where you live. Obviously, we've now gone down the route and we've locked ourselves into not choosing where to live again. But I think in, the 6 years, I think 6 years is a long time. We'll be into our 40s, unfortunately, at that point. So I think we would like to settle where we want to. Will that be here? Probably not, because
Where would you want to live?
Too expensive here. I think we've established from browsing online that we can't afford Sydney, not for the type of house we like. I hate to say it, but probably Perth.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's not for everyone.
East West divide, I know. But do you know what? I think we've said over the next 6 years, Australia's huge. We want to go
everywhere
and explore. Maybe not the Northern Territories. I'm not going to lie, because Crocs and stuff. But I think
just stay 4 meters from water, you'll be fine.
I can't run that fast. And I think we want to explore pretty much as the East Coast as we can.
Yes.
Because it might be we
love
go
it,
somewhere and we go, no, we want to be here, because you don't know until you've tried. So we want to do as many holidays as we can in Australia, and then we'll decide. We'll decide then. We can't make any decisions now because we live here. So so I think we'll make the most of our time here, make the most of the area we live in, because it is beautiful. And then in 6 years we'll decide what we want to do.
Reevaluate, see what we want to do from that.
Yeah, well, we're going to try and stop looking
forward
all the time, because we do that.
It sounds like you're going to end up being like one of our guests, Hannah, who I believe was our first, if not one of our first guests on the podcast. She lives in Sydney. God knows how she can afford living kind of in the northern beaches. Maybe that's the reason, because I've still got her on Instagram, and she's constantly on the move on holidays and going around Australia. I swear she's definitely seen more than I have, and she's been here less time. So I look forward to seeing or hearing about you enjoying more of Australia and what it's got to offer, and then hopefully you'll be able to find a better place to live than Perth. But
we'll try.
We'll do our best. We'll come over to Brisbane as well and see what that's like.
You'll probably say it's rubbish, and that I know nothing about Australia at all.
We'll come up and be like, "Where's the opera house?"
We get very protective over. I think it must be more of an Australian thing than a British thing. But
I feel it's the north-south divide in the UK, where the north is the best place ever if you're northern, but we love the south because that's where we're from. I feel it's like an east, north, or even per city sort of like rivalry almost. But I'm all for it.
Well,
we'll see what fight we're on.
If you see me when I'm watching The Origin, I'm definitely a Queenslander now.
Oh, okay. Who knows? We may be too, but we'll
one day.
Yeah,
maybe.
we will see.
Just don't be a blue, mate. Just don't be a blue. You'll be fine.
Okay.
Promise.
Do you even know what that is?
No.
We're like, sure.
I'm guessing it's sports teams.
Next year, you'll watch it. You'll get into NRL probably quicker than you thought you would do.
Okay. All right, we'll see.
If you could leave our listeners then with one piece of wisdom that you've gained for moving to the other side of the world, what would it be?
For me, it would be just to do it as soon as you can. Like we said, our regret was not doing it sooner. So if you want to do it, just go for a visa agent and see what your options are, and do it as soon as you can. Because who knows what will happen in the future? You don't know. The visa process is quite tough as it is, but it could get tougher. They could literally get to the point where they're like, no, we don't need any more people from other countries. And then you're sort of scuppered then. So I would say do it as soon as you can. Just go for it. And if you can, go on holiday if possible, just to see what it's like. Because you'd be surprised. So many people come here and they've never been. We were lucky to go on holiday. If you can, I would say come on holiday and see what it's like.
And I would say, if you do want to come, you need to get a visa agent, because there's many experts on Facebook groups that will tell you, you need to do this, you need to do that. And the amount of times I read things, I'm like,
it's wrong.
No, that's wrong. I don't know where they pull their information from, because the visa process is confusing. Therefore, Facebook groups are great. There are snippets of information and you can meet people through them potentially, but for the actual facts, go to a visa agent. Most of them will do a free assessment for you. And then I would say, if you want to do it, just do it. You can always go back. You can't always come here, especially if age isn't on your side. And I'd say be open to the different routes. Don't go, I'm going to apply for a 189 and that's how I'm going, because you're not in control of that. So look at sponsorship, look at,
transferring into a job like I did.
Transferring in, or look at maybe temporary options that lead to permanent residency. If you genuinely want to come here, I think you've just got to be open to all possibilities and just do it. Don't do what we did. And well, actually, you can get cold feet. That's absolutely fine. I'm not saying don't get cold feet, but
It just happens, doesn't it? Sometimes
it's a big investment. It is an investment basically into your future because it can cost a lot of money. But yeah, just do it, but get the experts involved.
And one thing I've learnt living in Australia now that I'd never really thought about because I'm probably still a bit of a cheap also in the UK, is that here good things aren't cheap and cheap things aren't necessarily always good.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tom and Katy, for sharing your journey with us, and I hope it's given you all a greater insight in what it's like to transfer from the UK Air Force to the Australian Air Force. Why was that so difficult to say? If you want to see more of what our life is like, you can check us out on YouTube and Instagram at That Johnston Life. And if either of our stories has inspired you to also want to make the move to Australia, make sure that you speak to True Blue Migration Services, mention That Johnston Life, and you'll get a free visa assessment where you can see what you need to do to move to this beautiful country. Like Tom, don't leave it too late, or if you already have tried to see if you can move here and haven't had a free visa assessment recently, maybe your trade is now on the list. Give it a go at www.truebluemigration.com, and just remember, because you mentioned us, you'll also save an additional $200 off the cost of your visa. And when you finally do move here, make sure to let us know on Instagram. We always love seeing your messages of how you've got to move here, and I'll see you next time.